Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Institute for Personal Development, Kriya Yoga Ashram, where total consciousness is the new frontier.
Kriya Yoga is union of the individual with the divine. Join us as we explore the practices to initiate this process.
Good morning. Welcome to the Voice of Yoga. Let's Talk Consciousness. I am your hostess, Lisa Winton, and with me is Kenny Toy, also known as Swami Jayananda, founder of the Institute for Personal Development, located here in Hampton, New Hampshire. Good morning, Swami. Thank you for being here today. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good today. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good today, thanks. And I want to thank you, listeners, for tuning in to our show today. Today on the Voice of Yoga, we will talk about the concept of realization of your spiritual nature. Humans have enormous potential. However, we have to be taught how to unlock this opportunity. Kriya Yoga, as a complete holistic health management system, is one way to actualize this divine nature. Listen as we explore some of the most common misconceptions regarding this ultimate possibility. Welcome to the Voice of Yoga. We are talking consciousness. And join the Kriya Yoga Spiritual Advance. Get the light in your soul and become divine. So, Swami, I thought I would first start off the show today with a quote that I received online through my research. And this quote is, "The Buddha taught that your true nature is emptiness. And when this true nature is realized, the divine states of loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity emerge." Can you give us your thoughts on that?
Well, I would agree with it 100%. I think the thing that is important, though, is what does it look like when you realize your true divine nature? And those are some of the things that I think are important, because we don't come in with the programming. And it's not something that's going to happen to us, that we actually have to be taught how to do this. And I always think of the quote from Jesus when he talked to Nicodemus, and he said, unless a person be born again, they shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. This concept of, in Kriya Yoga we call this initiation, that we have to do something because we're not born with the programming. And even say, for example, like the Buddha's advice is that we must desire nothing. We must desire the void. That is a condition that has to be created. And in Christianity, they say this exact same thing when Jesus says we must love the Lord thy God with our heart, our soul, and our mind. So one of the things that I really try and educate people is that we have the possibility as humans to resonate to different levels of consciousness and different degrees of awareness. And everything is going to be contingent upon what it is that we desire. And we come in with this original sin. I'm sure that a lot of people, their defenses go up immediately. But sin isn't punishment for disobedience, or sin isn't behavior. Sin is an archery term, and it means missing the mark. It means that we come in and we draw from a resource of energy that is limiting. And in order for us to unlock this condition, to separate from our attachment to things that are visible and tangible, or things that are invisible and tangible, and join with this invisible, intangible resource. That's what I like about this, is that it's not advice, it's physics, it's science. But when we join with this resource, everything changes. It's kind of like the difference between putting water in your car and putting apple juice in your car or putting gasoline in your car. That if you put water and apple juice, you'll fill the tank, but the car isn't going to run. But if you put gasoline in the car, then the car does exactly what it is that you wanted it to do. And the same is true with divine nature, with our true spiritual nature, that there are benefits that come with this that we can't get if we continue to draw from these other resources.
So I was checking online, and I've come up with a couple of bits of information I'd like to get your opinions on. And this one is relating to the Upanishads, and the information is nearly 2,500 years ago, the great sages of the Upanishads proclaimed, "Know thy own soul, for only then can you know God." And then the author states, in other words, the path to God lies not through the outer world of matter, but through our inner world of spirit. And isn't that kind of like what we're trying to do here? Is we're trying to go beyond matter and go into mind with a capital M to try to get this connection.
Yeah, we want to join with spirit. Absolutely. And again, when we do that, the key here is to understand that you don't just want to do this academically or intellectually. You really have to include your body in this equation, that matter and mind. And the best way that it was ever explained to me was by Swami Ramatirtha, who said, you train the mind to serve spirit, and you train the body to serve the mind with that image. That the internalization of this other resource in the physical body is where everything starts to change. The term conversion, or in the Bible, the concept of the new covenant, means basically that we change our pattern, we change our source of sustenance, we change what it is that we are looking for validation. And when it's internalized in the body, then all your ducks are in order, because our bodies are what has power. The physical body has the power of preservation and survival. Mind has sight, vision, but it's feeble and weak. And so when you can take your lame mind with vision and put it on the back of blind matter and direct it towards this unified resource, this concept of God, the power of the universe, the creative power of the universe, light, life, love, and you join it with that, then all your ducks are in order. Now your life is harmonious. It's blissful. It's wonderful. But until then, we're dealing with this lower vibration of mortal mind, of a mind that is attached to matter, duality, which is fear and limitation.
Yeah, and we know we can't get anywhere, we can't move consciously if we are still attached to anything from the material world, correct?
Yeah, that's the whole gimmick. That's the key, is that you can't get spirit in your body because of this original sin, because we come in with a pattern. And the other thing is the physics is like attracts like, and two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. So when we have a longing for sensual pleasures, then of course you can't have a relationship with spirit. And that's where you need guidance. You need direction. You need a method. You need a system to be able to do this. Because if you just try and do it intellectually, oftentimes the change doesn't go deep enough.
I read earlier today, that you can't use your senses to realize the God potential. And I guess my question to you is, but then there's also that saying where we should really try to learn and practice and demonstrate looking through the world with God's eyes. So what is the difference between the two?
Yeah, the whole key here is that the problem with the world is not God's love for humanity. Because God's love is being dispensed equally to all of us. And the reason why I say that with such conviction is because it comes down to, well, what is my understanding of God? And that's the thing that I really like about the Kriya Yoga that we teach, which is very science-based. That God isn't some astral image or cosmic puppeteer. That God is the force right now supporting our lives. And so the interchangeable reference point is God is your number one need. And so that is readily available to us independent of our behavior. So God gives the same equality to somebody who's robbing banks, somebody who is totally immersed in sensual pleasures, or somebody who is totally devoted to them. The changes that really happen comes from us, that when we change our point of focus, and now all of a sudden we love God, this number one need, this void, this nothing, and we internalize that and we become addicted to that, then you have reciprocity. Then that changes that relationship. Now the power of the creative principle, you're in harmony with it. That's very different than when we're drawing from the other possible sources of sustenance, particles and waves, energy or matter or mind. And so that's an important distinction to make. But we have to be taught how to do this from somebody who can do it. And that there are procedures that will assist us in doing this. That's why the term religion meant to relink. The term yoga means union. So it's a rejoining of an individual with this divine law seeking expression. Infinite source of power and knowledge and potential is right there, but we're the ones that have to create a hospitable environment and invite it into our lives. We're the ones that have to harmonize with it.
They're saying that that energy, that God energy, is around us, available for anybody and everybody, but we have to tap into it. And it's not until we change the focus, as you say, that we don't realize that full potential, that full connection, rather.
Right, that's exactly right.
Well, I think that's a great place to pause right now. So listeners, will return with you in a few moments. Kriya Yoga Theory 1, Human Development and the 8 Essential Stages of Kriya Yoga. This program is a comprehensive course that will help you get your arms around the science of Kriya Yoga. It provides a clear understanding of the goals and objectives behind yoga, along with the physics of spirituality. It includes the practices, supportive concepts of Kriya Yoga, and the process in human development, apotheosis, the process of the human becoming divine. A complete guide on how to become a human in the adult state. Get the light in your soul and experience the simplicity and joy of union with the divine. This course is available in live classes at the ashram or online with 8 videos or 4 CDs. Visit our website, www.ipdtransform.com, for more information. welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Voice of Yoga, and we are talking consciousness. So, Swami, I wanted to get your take on another quote that I had found in my research for the show, and the quote is, "To become aware of our soul as separate from our body is the first step towards realizing God, for God is the infinite ocean of consciousness, and our souls are like individual waves on its surface. If we know the wave, then we have known the ocean too." Can you tell us what you think about that?
Yeah, I think the whole key is to recognize that we are eternal spiritual beings, and that we're not a material being waiting to die to become spiritual. That, to me, is the concept of the soul, is the realization that we are spiritual beings. And then the more that you can start to identify with that, and also connecting it to this concept of God, this inexhaustible resource, and then being able to, just like Jesus says in the Lord's Prayer, "Thy will be done." So attuning and harmonizing my personal interests, my will, with this will of the divine becomes a real technique in order to be able to actualize your spiritual nature.
So are you saying that we make some sort of an intention, and then we kind of put it out there into the universe, and then we just turn it over to God? Is that what you're saying we should do? Would that be the application?
Well, not exactly. I mean, what you really are trying to do is you're trying to establish a relationship with this resource that's readily available to us, so that your relationship with God isn't just imagined or based on some sort of blind faith or belief, that you have internalized this concept of God, this void, this nothing, and your whole sense of self is totally established based on that relationship. Then a lot of it is just listening to basic instruction that comes from that. Because we get into a lot of trouble when we start to live from a limited mortal mind base of operation, where we lose our sense of connectedness to a greater whole, and we start to operate more as an individual or separate as an individual. And when we maintain this broader sense of awareness, this kind of harmonious relationship, because what you do is you recognize that you're in tandem with something. To be spiritual is to be backed by God. That you are in tandem with something that's pure, it's powerful, it's sacred, it's dependable, and it is producing a feeling in your body of bliss, wonder, and awe. And that to me is what Henry David Thoreau would define as humility. He said, "Humility, like darkness, reveals the heavenly lights." And once we have attention for this resource, then it changes your life completely. That's why they call it a transformation, that you have transcended physical reality. You now have an identity with a part of yourself that is eternal, that always was, always will be. And in fact, that's the way I like to think about the simple fact that we come in and we really are in an identity crisis. I mean, we have an identity theft, that this birthright, that this inexhaustible resource of love and abundance we have our back to it. And that we had to be taught how to mine it, how to reconnect with it. And to me, that's what finding your true spiritual nature is all about. And it's a realization. Again, we don't have the capacity. Our senses are designed to work in duality. And a big part of this development is developing spiritual capabilities, a heightened sense of awareness, a sensitivity that enables us to move through the unified state.
So we still have to teach ourselves that we can't be longing for the material world, because we can't get with spirit through the material world. We have to turn our backs on the material world then to formulate this relationship with our divinity.
Yeah, that's the catch. And that's where a lot of people find resistance. A lot of the resistance is met is because we just don't know. We don't know what it's like to be supported by peace, love, happiness, and goodness. And the other thing is a lot of the literature that's out there kind of presents God as being an angry God, a jealous God, and not an all-loving God. And that's, I think, an important distinction to be able to make, that God is pure love. God is truth. God is life. And the other aspect, evil, isn't a force at all. It's the absence of love, life, and light. And that's the thing that we really want to capitalize on, is that when you develop this relationship with God, then you have the backing of this force, these forces, principle. You have principle behind it. It's like God is like the gold behind currency. And so that's one of the things that it says in the Bible, that with God all things are possible. So when you're separating from the limited perspective of body-bound awareness, sensual perception, it's not deprivation. This is actually an upgrade. It's not like you're giving up in hopes of some sort of reward in an afterlife. This is something that you start now, and it becomes a much better mode of operation. Because, like I say, you're in tandem with something. It's pure, it's powerful, it's sacred. And it's producing peace, wonder. It's producing love, happiness, and goodness in your life.
So then again, I guess the question would be, so how do we make that conversion? How do we still live in this world? Because we all have to work, we have to eat, we have to do all these, our daily duties, and things of that nature. So how do we go about still maintaining ourselves in the physical world, and yet still try to make this conversion with our divinity to become our true spiritual natures?
Right. It comes back to what we were saying. It's what we desire. Understanding that if we desire particles, matter, we will be of a low animal nature. We'll be careless, emotional, indulgent, reactive, and not your best base of operation. But unfortunately, that pretty much defines the reality that we're socialized with. And we try and make the most of that. Now, if we join with waves, mind, then of course we will be of an equally low human nature. We'll be careful, we'll be intelligent, we'll be ambitious, but we'll be abstinent. We'll be struggling with the things we were craving in the larvae state. But now if we join with this truth and wholeness, if we join with this indivisible unified field, if we desire God, if we love God, then we will be of a divine nature. And the beauty of the divine nature is with that comes virtue to overcome fear, wisdom to overcome ignorance, purpose to overcome selfishness, and enthusiasm to overcome laziness. So again, now you have the backing of divine law, as opposed to where we were before. We were in the realms of suffering and decay. We had this very false, limited belief system that we were trying to make work.
So you remind me of the 3 words that you always say, and that is to put God first. So if we, before we sit down and have a meal, we pray for the food that's on the table. We thank God for that, or give thanks. Whatever we do, should we turn our mind to God before we partake whatever it is that we're about to do, whether it's work related or getting into the car, whatever it might be. I mean, do we put God first, consciously in our mind, and then we go about our tasks?
Absolutely. And if you really cross-examine what you just asked me, now think about it. If, independent of what it is that you're doing, if you didn't have your next breath, what would be your focus on what you were doing? Would it matter if you got to the car? Would it matter if you got the laundry out of the washing machine? Would it matter if dinner wasn't being served? So whether we realize it or not, I mean, we are supported by divine law all the time. But what we don't have is a sense of appreciation for that, usually. We take that for granted. And we get caught up in whatever it is that we're doing. And all this does is it pulls you back so that you do have attention, and all of a sudden now the availability of your next breath becomes your party. And now getting into the car is secondary. It's not as important. It's smaller. But the other thing is that in one way, you're still searching. You're looking. You're looking for something to make you happy, something that's going to make you feel complete. In this respect, you are indulging yourself in something that is fulfilling. There's a calmness, there's a stillness, there's a confidence that comes with this internal connection that is enriching anything you're doing. Now you could be more mentally present in whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're doing dishes, food shopping, laundry, whether you're at work.
Would you recommend or say that we had to have this attitude of gratitude with whatever is in our lives? Like, before, like I said before, like when you sit down and have a meal, or when you walk into the door of the building of the place of your employment, always being thankful and have this gratitude that God has given us these things in our lives. So that, coupled with being aware of the breath and thanking God for that next breath, is that all part of it too? Is this whole thing of gratitude and thankfulness?
Yeah, and I think it comes with the territory. It's just appreciation. It's awareness that this stuff is really important, and it's here, and I'm pretty happy about that.
Well, that's a great way to end the show. So I think we're going to close down the program for today. So listeners, please visit the website. It's www.ipdtransform.com. So once you're there, you can post comments about this show. You can access other Blog Talk Radio shows that are there as well. And be sure to check us out on our Facebook Live sessions that we have available too on Facebook. So Swami, do you have any final thoughts about today's program?
Well, I would like to wish everybody good luck in realizing your true spiritual nature. And with that, I wish everybody a good day. Namaste.
And thank you for listening to our program, The Voice of Yoga. This is Lisa Winton along with Swami Jayananda signing off. Have a wonderful Kriya Yoga kind of day. Namaste.